What if the person standing quietly beside you at a gas station was carrying a secret that could change everyone's future in just a few minutes? Would you judge him by the way he looked, or would you wait to learn who he really was? Tonight's story begins with one simple mistake. But before the night is over, that mistake will leave everyone standing in complete silence. It was just after 9 o'clock on a cool autumn evening. A small gas station sat beside an empty highway in the fictional town of Westbridge. The bright lights above the fuel pumps were the only thing breaking the darkness around them. Only 3 cars were parked there. A tired truck driver was buying coffee inside. A young couple was filling their car before heading home. And at the last fuel pump stood a quiet man wearing a faded blue jacket and dark jeans. His name was Marcus Reed. Marcus looked like someone you would pass every day without noticing. He wasn't dressed in an expensive suit. He wasn't driving a luxury car. His pickup truck was clean but old enough to show years of use. As the fuel slowly filled his tank, Marcus looked at the night sky for a moment before checking a small notebook in his hand. He smiled quietly, closed it, and slipped it back into his jacket pocket. No one at the station knew that this ordinary-looking man had already lived through a day most people could never imagine. At that exact moment, a police cruiser slowly rolled into the station. Its headlights swept across the parking lot before stopping near Marcus's truck. The engine stayed running. Inside, Officer Daniel Brooks watched Marcus through the windshield without saying a word. Something about the quiet stranger caught his attention. Marcus noticed the patrol car, but he didn't react. He simply continued filling his truck, as calm as if no one were watching him. Officer Brooks stepped out, adjusted his uniform, and walked toward the fuel pump. His footsteps echoed across the empty station. The conversations inside the store grew quieter as people looked through the glass windows. "Evening," the officer said. Marcus turned with a polite smile. "Good evening, officer." For a brief second, everything seemed normal. Then the officer's eyes moved to Marcus's backpack resting in the truck bed. "Mind telling me what's inside that bag?" Marcus answered in a calm voice. "Just personal belongings." The officer didn't seem satisfied. "You mind opening it?" Marcus looked at the backpack for a second before looking back at the officer. "Officer," he replied respectfully, "is there a reason you're asking?" The simple question changed the mood completely. Officer Brooks folded his arms. "So now you're questioning me?" "No, sir," Marcus answered. "I'm only trying to understand." The young couple stopped pumping gas. Even the cashier inside the store looked toward the windows. Something about the conversation suddenly felt different. Marcus never raised his voice. He never argued. He never stepped closer. He simply stood there with his hands where everyone could see them. But instead of calming the situation, his quiet confidence seemed to make Officer Brooks even more suspicious. The officer took one slow step forward. "I've asked nicely," he said. "Now I'm giving you a direct order." Marcus remained completely still. His face showed no fear, no anger, no panic, only patience. For just a moment, it almost looked as if Marcus already knew exactly how this night was going to end. Officer Brooks reached for his handcuffs. "Turn around," he said firmly. "You're being detained." Marcus took a slow breath, but he still didn't tell the officer who he really was. Marcus slowly turned around without saying another word. He did not argue. He did not pull away. He simply placed his hands behind his back as Officer Daniel Brooks snapped the handcuffs around his wrists. The sharp click echoed through the quiet gas station. The young couple looked at each other in disbelief. The truck driver stepped outside with his coffee, sensing that something unusual was happening. Everyone expected Marcus to protest. Instead, he remained completely calm, almost as if he had already accepted whatever came next. Officer Brooks studied Marcus's face carefully. "You're surprisingly relaxed for someone being detained," he said with a slight smirk. Marcus looked at him politely. Staying calm usually helps people make better decisions. The answer only seemed to frustrate the officer even more. "You think you're smarter than everyone else?" Marcus gently shook his head. "No, sir. I simply believe every situation deserves patience." Those simple words made the silence even heavier. The officer had expected excuses, fear, or anger. Instead, he found someone who refused to lose control. That quiet confidence made him wonder if he was missing something. But instead of stopping to think, he pushed those thoughts aside. Officer Brooks guided Marcus toward the patrol car. As they walked, Marcus glanced toward his pickup truck for just a second. His eyes rested on the backpack in the truck bed before returning to the officer. It was such a small movement that almost no one noticed it. But the station cashier, who had quietly stepped outside, caught it immediately. What could be so important in that bag, the cashier whispered to herself. The officer opened the rear door of the patrol car but didn't place Marcus inside yet. Instead, he turned back toward the truck. I think it's time we take a closer look. Marcus spoke calmly. Officer, everything inside belongs to me. I'm sure it does, Brooks replied. We'll decide if there's anything else that belongs to someone. Marcus gave no further response. As the officer walked toward the pickup, another patrol car slowly entered the station. Its flashing lights reflected across the fuel pumps, making the entire place feel tense. A younger officer stepped out. His name tag read Ethan Cole. He looked from Marcus to Officer Brooks, clearly trying to understand what had happened. What have we got? Ethan asked. Suspicious behavior, Brooks answered confidently. I'm checking his belongings. Ethan looked at Marcus. He expected to see fear. Instead, he saw a man standing peacefully beside the patrol car, his shoulders relaxed and his eyes steady. Did he resist? Ethan quietly asked. Not yet. Ethan nodded but kept looking at Marcus. Something didn't feel right. Most people became nervous the moment handcuffs appeared. This man looked as though he was waiting for something far more important than this conversation. Officer Brooks climbed into the truck bed and grabbed the backpack. It felt heavier than he expected. He placed it on the hood of the patrol car. The crowd grew larger. 2 more customers had stopped for fuel after seeing the police lights. Some watched from inside their vehicles. Others stood near the store entrance, whispering to one another. Nobody knew why such a quiet man had suddenly become the center of attention. Officer Brooks slowly unzipped the backpack. Inside were neatly folded clothes. A water bottle. A small first aid kit. Several notebooks filled with handwritten notes. Nothing looked unusual. The officer frowned. There has to be more than this. He searched deeper. Marcus remained silent. Then Officer Brooks reached the very bottom of the bag. His hand stopped. His fingers touched a thick, sealed envelope marked only with a simple black stripe. He slowly pulled it out and stared at it. Marcus finally spoke. His voice was soft. Officer, are you absolutely certain you want to open that? The entire gas station fell silent. Even Officer Ethan Cole took one slow step closer, unable to take his eyes off the mysterious envelope. The question hung in the air like a warning. Officer, are you absolutely certain you want to open that? Marcus's voice was calm. It carried no fear, no anger, and no threat. Yet somehow, those simple words made everyone at the gas station stop moving. Officer Daniel Brooks looked up at Marcus with a confident smile. Are you trying to scare me? Marcus slowly shook his head. No, sir. I'm only asking you to think carefully before making your next decision. The officer laughed quietly. I've heard every excuse in the book. That wasn't an excuse, Marcus replied. It was a question. For a brief second, even the younger officer, Ethan Cole, wondered if they should slow down. Marcus hadn't resisted. He hadn't lied. He hadn't tried to run away. In fact, he had been more respectful than anyone Ethan had dealt with that week. Still, Officer Brooks ignored the uneasy feeling. He placed the sealed envelope on the hood of the patrol car. The envelope was plain brown. There was no logo. No return address. Only a black security strip running across the center and the words, "Confidential, authorized personnel only." Brooks frowned. Trying to make yourself look important. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he quietly looked toward the dark highway beyond the gas station, almost as if he was waiting for someone. That small action didn't escape Ethan's attention. Sir, Ethan said carefully, maybe we should verify everything before opening it. Brooks looked at him. Verify what? He's standing here in handcuffs. I know, but something feels unusual. Brooks folded his arms. You're still new, Cole. Sometimes people act calm because they think it will confuse us. Marcus finally spoke again. Officer Cole is simply being careful. Brooks turned back toward Marcus. You seem to know a lot about police work. Marcus smiled politely. I know that every decision matters. Those words stayed in Ethan's mind. Every decision matters. The station cashier quietly stepped outside carrying a fresh pot of coffee. She wasn't trying to interrupt anyone. She simply wanted a better view of what was happening. The young couple had stopped talking completely. Even the truck driver leaned against his vehicle without taking another sip of his coffee. The entire station felt strangely quiet. Officer Brooks grabbed the edge of the envelope. Just as he started peeling back the security strip, a loud ringing sound broke the silence. Everyone turned. It was coming from inside Marcus's pickup truck. A phone. Brooks stopped for a moment. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Marcus never looked toward it. He simply remained standing with his hands cuffed behind his back. The ringing stopped. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then, the phone started ringing again. This time, the screen lit up brightly through the truck window. Ethan's eyes narrowed. The caller ID didn't show a person's name. Instead, it displayed only 3 words. Priority secure line. Before Ethan could say anything, the call ended. Brooks smirked. Fancy name. Marcus calmly replied, some calls shouldn't be ignored. Brooks looked at him with growing frustration. You're in no position to give advice. Marcus answered softly. I'm not giving advice. I'm giving you an opportunity. The words made Ethan even more uncomfortable. Nothing about Marcus matched the situation. Most people became nervous after being detained. This man almost seemed concerned for the officers instead of himself. Then something unexpected happened. A dark SUV slowly turned off the highway and entered the gas station. It wasn't speeding. It wasn't using flashing lights. It simply rolled to a smooth stop near the edge of the parking lot. The windows were heavily tinted. No one stepped out. The engine remained running. Officer Brooks glanced toward the vehicle for only a second before returning his attention to the envelope. But Ethan couldn't stop staring at it. For some reason, he had the feeling that whoever was inside that SUV already knew exactly what was happening. And deep down, Ethan began asking himself one question he couldn't ignore anymore. Who was Marcus Reed, and why did it suddenly feel like everyone else knew something they didn't? The dark SUV remained parked near the edge of the gas station. Its engine continued to hum quietly, but no one stepped outside. The tinted windows hid whoever was inside. Even the customers who had been whispering a moment earlier fell silent. It felt as though the entire station was waiting for something, or someone. Officer Ethan Cole couldn't take his eyes off the vehicle. Do you know them? He asked Marcus. Marcus looked toward the SUV for only a second before answering. I know that everyone arrives exactly when they're supposed to. It was another strange answer. Not a denial. Not a confession. Just another sentence that seemed to mean much more than it said. Officer Daniel Brooks rolled his eyes. I'm done listening to these little riddles. He picked up the sealed envelope again. Marcus remained calm. Officer, once that seal is broken, today's paperwork won't be your biggest concern. Brooks smiled. You're still trying to scare me. No, Marcus replied quietly. I'm trying to stop you from making a mistake you can't undo. Those words lingered in the air. Even Ethan shifted uncomfortably. For the first time that night, he quietly wondered if they had missed an important step. Marcus had answered every question politely. He had never resisted. Nothing illegal had been found inside the backpack. Yet somehow, the situation kept becoming more serious instead of less. Brooks ignored every warning. With one quick motion, he tore open the security seal. The sound seemed louder than it should have been. Everyone watched. Inside the envelope were several neatly organized documents protected inside a clear folder. Brooks pulled out the first page. His confident expression didn't change. It looked like ordinary paperwork. He flipped to the next page. More documents. Another page. More official-looking forms. Nothing immediately explained why Marcus had been so calm. Brooks laughed. That's it? Just papers? Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the highway again. As if he were waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to arrive. Ethan stepped a little closer. Sir, what do those documents actually say? Brooks scanned the top page. Most of it was covered with official wording and reference numbers. Near the bottom was a bold red sentence. Authorized handling only. Brooks frowned. What does that even mean? Marcus finally spoke. It means someone else should have opened that. Brooks looked irritated. I already did. I know. For a brief moment, neither man said another word. Then the gas station cashier noticed something unusual. Officer, she said softly. Brooks looked up. What? You dropped something. A small laminated card had slipped from the folder onto the ground. Brooks picked it up without thinking. It wasn't a driver's license. It wasn't a credit card. It was completely black except for a silver emblem in the corner. No name. No photo. Only a long identification number. Brooks turned it over. The back was blank. What is this supposed to be? Marcus answered honestly. It's not meant for public display. Brooks tossed it back onto the folder. Looks fake. Marcus simply smiled. You're free to believe that. Before Brooks could respond, the mysterious phone inside Marcus's truck rang again. This time, it didn't stop after a few seconds. It kept ringing. Once. Twice. 3 times. The sound echoed across the quiet parking lot. Ethan looked toward the truck. Should we answer it? Brooks shook his head. No. Marcus spoke calmly. If I were you, I wouldn't ignore that call. Brooks folded his arms. I'm not taking orders from a man in handcuffs. The ringing finally stopped. 5 long seconds passed. Then every phone at the gas station vibrated at the same time. The cashier looked down. The truck driver checked his screen. Even Ethan's department phone lit up with an incoming priority notification. His face changed. Sir. Brooks barely looked at him. What now? Ethan swallowed hard. My dispatcher just sent an urgent message. What does it say? Ethan stared at the screen for several seconds before slowly raising his eyes toward Marcus. His voice became almost a whisper. Dispatch wants us to immediately verify the identity of the individual we're detaining. He paused. Before taking another single step, Officer Brooks looked at Marcus for the first time that night without speaking. But before anyone could react, the door of the dark SUV quietly opened. Someone finally stepped out. And the moment Officer Ethan Cole saw the person's face, the color drained from his own. Officer Ethan Cole stared at the person stepping out of the dark SUV. His eyes widened for just a second before he quickly looked away. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. Officer Daniel Brooks noticed the change immediately. What is it? He asked. Ethan didn't answer right away. The man from the SUV was dressed in a simple dark suit with no badge showing and no logo on his vehicle. He closed the driver's door quietly and walked toward the gas pumps with steady, confident steps. He wasn't in a hurry. Yet somehow, every step made the silence around the station feel even heavier. Marcus watched him approach but showed no surprise. It was almost as if he had been expecting him all along. The stranger stopped a few feet away from Officer Brooks and looked at Marcus first. Are you all right? He asked calmly. Marcus nodded. I'm fine. Only then did the man turn toward Officer Brooks. Good evening, officer. Brooks crossed his arms. And you are? The man smiled politely. My name isn't important right now. That answer irritated Brooks. If you're involved in this situation, then it is important. The stranger glanced at Marcus's handcuffs before looking back at Brooks. I'd simply like to know why this gentleman is being detained. Brooks answered confidently. Suspicious behavior. The stranger looked around the station. Did he resist? No. Did he threaten anyone? No. Did you find anything illegal? Brooks hesitated. Not yet. The stranger nodded slowly, as if he had expected that answer. Then I hope you're documenting every decision very carefully. Those words caught Ethan's attention. They sounded less like advice, and more like a reminder. Brooks frowned. Who exactly are you? The man smiled again. A concerned professional. Marcus quietly lowered his head for a moment, almost hiding a small smile. The truck driver whispered to the cashier, why does it feel like everyone knows something except us? The cashier whispered back, I've been thinking the same thing. Officer Brooks wasn't interested in guessing games anymore. This conversation is over, he said firmly. He picked up the folder of documents from the hood of the patrol car. If you're not leaving, you can stand over there. The stranger didn't move. Instead, he calmly asked one simple question. Officer, have you confirmed this man's identity? Brooks laughed. I've got his driver's license. The stranger nodded. That's not what I asked. For the first time that evening, Brooks didn't answer immediately. Ethan quietly looked between the two men. Something about the stranger's confidence reminded him of Marcus. Neither one seemed nervous. Neither one was trying to argue. Both of them seemed strangely patient, almost as if they were waiting for Brooks to discover something on his own. Then Ethan's department phone vibrated again. This time it wasn't just a message. It was a direct call from dispatch. He answered quickly. This is Officer Cole. The dispatcher spoke so fast that Ethan could barely keep up. His expression changed with every sentence. What? He looked toward Marcus. Then toward the stranger. Then back at Marcus again. I understand. He slowly lowered the phone. Brooks noticed immediately. What did they say? Ethan took a deep breath. They're asking us to stop all non-essential actions until identity verification is completed. Brooks shook his head. This is getting ridiculous. No, sir. Ethan replied quietly. I don't think it is. Brooks reached for the folder again. I'm finishing this. As he lifted the stack of papers, one final document slipped onto the ground. The wind carried it several feet across the parking lot before stopping near the stranger's shoes. He bent down and picked it up. For the first time since arriving, his calm expression changed. He looked directly at Marcus. You were carrying this with you? Marcus gave a small nod. Yes. The stranger carefully turned the document around so only Marcus could see it. Then he quietly asked a question that made Ethan's heart begin to race. Does Officer Brooks have any idea what this document actually authorizes? Marcus looked at Brooks for a long moment. Then he answered with complete honesty. No. He paused. And that's exactly what worries me. Before Brooks could demand another explanation, the sound of several approaching vehicles echoed from the highway. 1. Then 2. Then 3. They weren't using sirens. But every vehicle was heading straight toward the gas station. And somehow, Marcus didn't look surprised at all. The sound of approaching engines grew louder with every passing second. Everyone at the gas station turned toward the highway. 3 dark SUVs entered the parking lot one after another. None of them used flashing lights. None of them made loud entrances. They simply parked in a straight line near the fuel pumps. The entire station fell silent. Officer Daniel Brooks frowned. What is this now? No one answered. The doors of the first SUV opened. 2 professionally dressed men stepped out, followed by a woman carrying a black briefcase. They weren't wearing uniforms, but the confidence in their movements immediately changed the atmosphere. Officer Ethan Cole quietly swallowed. I've seen people like this before, he whispered. Brooks looked at him. Who are they? Ethan slowly shook his head. I'm not completely sure. The 3 newcomers walked directly toward Marcus. None of them even looked at Officer Brooks at first. The woman stopped in front of Marcus. Good evening, Mr. Reed. Marcus smiled politely. Good evening. I'm sorry we're a little late. You arrived exactly when I expected. Those words sent another wave of confusion through the crowd. The truck driver whispered, why is everyone talking to him like he's the important one? Even the cashier couldn't answer. Officer Brooks stepped forward. Hold on. Everyone turned toward him. This is an active police investigation. The woman finally looked at Brooks. Her expression remained calm. We understand. Then you'll also understand that no one speaks to my detainee until I'm finished. She gave a respectful nod. Of course. For a brief moment, Brooks felt he had regained control. Then she calmly asked, may I ask one question? Brooks crossed his arms. Go ahead. Have you completed identity verification? The same question. Again. Brooks sighed heavily. Everyone keeps asking me that. The woman didn't react. She simply waited. Brooks pointed toward Marcus. I already have his driver's license. She nodded politely. That's one form of identification. But not all of them. Those words immediately caught Ethan's attention. He looked toward Marcus again. Marcus still hadn't defended himself. He still hadn't revealed who he was. He simply stood quietly with handcuffs around his wrists. Almost as if this moment had always been part of the plan. Officer Brooks looked annoyed. I'm not playing these games anymore. He reached for Marcus's backpack again. If the answers aren't in these papers. He looked directly at Marcus. Then maybe they're somewhere else. Marcus remained calm. I've never hidden the truth from you. Brooks smiled sarcastically. No. I simply haven't interrupted your decisions. Those words stayed in Brooks's mind for a second. He didn't like how they sounded. Almost like Marcus wasn't talking about tonight anymore. Almost like he was talking about something much bigger. Before Brooks could respond, Ethan's department radio suddenly came to life. This is dispatch. Every officer became still. We are requesting an immediate status update regarding the individual identified as Marcus Reed. Brooks grabbed the radio. This is Officer Brooks. The subject is detained. There was a short pause. Then dispatch answered. Officer Brooks. Has identity verification been completed? Brooks looked irritated. No. Another pause. Longer this time. When dispatch spoke again, the voice sounded far more serious. Officer Brooks, do not proceed any further until verification is complete. The radio went silent. Brooks looked around the parking lot. Everyone was watching him now. The customers. The cashier. Officer Ethan Cole. The people who had arrived in the SUVs. Even Marcus. No one spoke. Finally, Brooks made his decision. Fine. He walked toward Marcus. If everyone's so concerned about your identity. He reached toward Marcus's jacket pocket. Then let's settle this. Marcus looked directly into his eyes. For your sake. He paused. I hope you're ready for the answer. Brooks slowly removed a small black leather wallet from Marcus's inside pocket. It didn't look expensive. It didn't have a name printed on it. Only a small silver seal on the front. The same seal Ethan had noticed earlier on the mysterious black card. Brooks opened it. His confident expression didn't change. Not yet. Inside were several folded cards. One of them was covered by another protective flap. Brooks reached for it. The woman carrying the briefcase quietly spoke. Officer. Brooks ignored her. She tried once more. Please. He pulled the card free. For just 1 second. His eyes froze on the words printed across the top. The color slowly disappeared from his face. Officer Ethan Cole took one step closer. What is it, sir? Brooks couldn't answer. He simply continued staring at the identification in complete silence. Marcus finally broke the silence with one calm sentence. I gave you 6 chances to ask who I was. He looked around at everyone standing in the parking lot. But you never asked. And before anyone could speak another word, the woman with the briefcase quietly said, Officer Brooks, that's only the first identification. The second one changes everything. Officer Daniel Brooks could not take his eyes off the identification card in his hand. Only a few seconds earlier, he had looked completely confident. Now, his fingers were slightly shaking. Officer Ethan Cole stepped closer. Sir, what does it say? Brooks swallowed but said nothing. The parking lot became so quiet that the distant sound of passing trucks could be heard from the highway. Every customer, every employee, and every officer was waiting for an answer. Marcus remained exactly where he was. His hands were still cuffed behind his back. His face showed no anger. Only patience. The woman holding the black briefcase looked at Brooks. I believe it's time. Brooks slowly looked up. You said there was another identification. She nodded. Yes. She carefully reached into the inside pocket of her jacket. For one brief second, Officer Brooks instinctively reached toward his duty belt. Marcus immediately spoke. Officer. Brooks looked at him. Please don't mistake another calm movement for a threat. Those simple words stopped Brooks from reacting any further. The woman slowly removed another leather case and opened it. Inside was an official credential. She did not hand it to Brooks immediately. Instead, she let him look at it from where he stood. His eyes became even wider. Officer Ethan quietly whispered, I've never seen him react like this. Neither had anyone else. The truck driver looked at the cashier. What is happening? She slowly shook her head. I don't think we're anywhere near the end of this. The woman finally handed the credential to Brooks. He examined it carefully. Every line. Every signature. Every security mark. Nothing looked fake. Nothing looked unusual. Everything appeared completely official. His confident expression slowly disappeared. Marcus calmly asked, Officer Brooks. Brooks looked at him. Do you understand now why I asked you to verify my identity first? Brooks opened his mouth to answer. But no words came out. At that exact moment, Ethan's radio came alive again. Officer Cole. This is dispatch. Ethan answered immediately. Go ahead. The verification request has been completed. Ethan looked toward Marcus. Proceed. Dispatch continued. The individual currently detained has active federal authorization requiring immediate coordination with designated supervisory personnel. The message stopped there. No explanation. No details. Only silence. Brooks looked confused. What does that even mean? The woman answered calmly. It means this situation became much more important than a routine stop several minutes ago. Brooks frowned. I was doing my job. No one questioned your right to ask questions, she replied gently. The concern is what happened after the answers started appearing. Those words stayed with everyone standing nearby. Marcus had answered every question. He had remained respectful. He had never argued. He had never resisted. Yet somehow, the situation had continued to grow worse. Officer Ethan looked toward Marcus. "Sir." Marcus smiled politely. "Yes. If you knew this would happen." He hesitated. "Why didn't you simply tell us who you were?" Several people quietly nodded. They wanted the same answer. Marcus looked around the gas station before speaking. "If I had announced my position the moment I arrived." He paused. "Everyone would have acted differently." No one interrupted him. "I wanted to be treated like any other citizen." The words hit everyone differently. The cashier slowly lowered her eyes. The truck driver folded his arms. Even Ethan looked uncomfortable. Only Brooks remained silent. Marcus continued. "Respect should never depend on a title." Another long silence followed. Then the man who had arrived in the first SUV stepped forward. He looked directly at Marcus. "Sir." Marcus nodded. "I'm listening." "The secure team has arrived." Marcus gave a small smile. "Good." The man lowered his voice. "We also received confirmation." Marcus's expression became serious. "So it has already started?" "Yes." Brooks looked between them. "What has started?" Neither man answered. Instead, the stranger quietly looked toward the highway. More headlights appeared in the distance. Not one vehicle. Not two. An entire line of dark government SUVs was slowly approaching the gas station. Even before they stopped, every person standing there realized one thing. Marcus Reed had never been the center of a simple traffic stop. He had been quietly waiting for something much bigger. And whatever was about to happen next, it had nothing to do with a gas station anymore. The line of dark SUVs rolled into the gas station one after another until they formed a quiet circle around the parking lot. Their engines stopped at the same time. No flashing lights. No loud sirens. Just silence. Everyone watched. The truck driver slowly placed his coffee on the hood of his truck. The cashier stepped back toward the store door. Even the young couple forgot they were still standing beside their car. Officer Daniel Brooks looked around in complete confusion. "What is going on?" No one answered him. One by one, the doors of the SUVs opened. Several professionally dressed men and women stepped out. Each carried a small folder or briefcase. None of them looked nervous. None of them looked surprised. Instead, they all looked toward Marcus Reed. Not toward Officer Brooks. Not toward the patrol cars. Toward Marcus. As they approached, every one of them greeted him with quiet respect. "Good evening, Mr. Reed." Marcus nodded politely. "Good evening." The simple exchange made Brooks feel even more uneasy. Officer Ethan Cole quietly whispered, "Sir, I think we should remove the handcuffs." Brooks didn't respond. He couldn't stop staring at Marcus. Only minutes earlier, he had believed he was in complete control. Now it felt as though everyone else understood the situation except him. One of the newly arrived officials stepped forward carrying a thin tablet. He looked at Marcus. "We've completed the timeline." Marcus asked only one question. "Does it match?" The official nodded. "Every minute." Marcus gave a quiet smile. "Good." Brooks finally spoke. "What timeline?" The official looked at him respectfully. "I'm afraid I can't discuss that yet." "Why not?" "Because this matter is still under review." Those words echoed inside Brooks's mind. Under review. He looked toward Ethan. Review by who? Before Ethan could answer, the woman with the black briefcase carefully opened it. Inside were several sealed folders. She handed one to Marcus. Even with handcuffs still around his wrists, Marcus accepted it calmly. He didn't open it. He simply held it. The woman then turned toward Brooks. "Officer." Her voice remained professional. "Would you please return Mr. Reed's personal identification?" Brooks looked down at the credentials still in his hand. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he slowly handed it back. Marcus thanked him with a simple nod. No anger. No sarcasm. No celebration. That unexpected kindness made Brooks feel even more uncomfortable. "If you knew who you were," Brooks asked quietly, "why didn't you stop me?" Marcus looked directly into his eyes. "I tried." Brooks frowned. "No. You never said anything." Marcus answered gently. "I asked you several times to verify my identity." The words hit harder this time. Ethan lowered his head. He remembered every warning. Every calm sentence. Every chance Marcus had given them to slow down. Brooks remembered them too. But now it was too late. Just then, one of the officials received a phone call. He listened for only a few seconds before ending it. He immediately turned toward Marcus. "Sir." Marcus looked up. "The director has been informed." Marcus nodded. "I expected that. The review team is ready." Brooks looked confused again. "What review team?" The official answered calmly. "The team assigned to examine everything that happened here tonight." A heavy silence followed. The customers looked at one another. No one had expected an ordinary stop at a gas station to become something this serious. Then something unexpected happened. Officer Ethan slowly walked toward Marcus. Without saying a word, he removed the keys from his belt. He looked at Brooks first. Then at Marcus. "Mr. Reed." Marcus looked at him. "I believe these handcuffs should never have stayed on this long." Marcus smiled kindly. "Thank you, officer." Ethan carefully unlocked the cuffs. The sharp click echoed across the parking lot. For the first time that night, Marcus was completely free. He gently rubbed his wrists. Then, instead of walking away, he turned back toward Officer Brooks. Everyone expected an argument. Everyone expected anger. Instead, Marcus quietly asked one question. "Officer, would you like to know why I stopped at this gas station tonight in the first place?" Brooks slowly nodded. "Yes." Marcus looked toward the highway, where one final black vehicle had just entered the parking lot. Its license plate was different from all the others. The people standing nearby immediately became even more serious. Marcus took a slow breath. "The truth," he paused, "has nothing to do with buying gasoline." The final vehicle came to a stop. Its rear door opened. And the person stepping out made every official standing there straighten their posture without saying a single word. The final visitor quietly walked toward Marcus. Without saying a word, Marcus showed his official credentials one last time. The visitor nodded respectfully before turning to Officer Brooks. "This matter will now follow the proper review process." Brooks lowered his head. For the first time that night, he understood that every decision carried consequences. Marcus never celebrated. He simply said, "Respect should be given before titles are known." The gas station fell silent as everyone reflected on those words. But one final surprise was still waiting, and it would leave the entire town talking for years. Weeks later, the fictional town of Westbridge had moved on, but the lesson from that quiet evening remained. People no longer remembered the handcuffs first, they remembered Marcus's patience. He never raised his voice, never demanded special treatment, and never forgot that true character is revealed under pressure. Officer Brooks also learned that respect should never depend on appearance or assumptions. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room carries the greatest responsibility. If this story made you think, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for another unforgettable fictional hidden identity story.